What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Average Bob, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the Week 3 matchup between the Giants and the Browns. Our G-men are coming into this one a little bit down and out after how South Game 1 and 2 went. Game 1 with the Vikings didn't do anything. Game 2, the Giants actually scored 3 touchdowns, but it bites them in the ass because we have no field goal kicker who got hurt to start the game on a play that didn't matter, but it kind of did because the kickoff got called back, so it didn't matter per se, but we did lose our starting kicker, which then impacted the rest of the game as we weren't able to kick an extra point, end a field goal, which the Giants probably win that game if they do have the option to kick. So it seems a little bit cursed if we're looking at like the start of the season, when things start spiraling a little bit out of control. But I do think if there is a game that the Giants could win, it could be this one versus the Browns. The Browns do have some players on their team. Let's not, say that they're not good or don't have some pockets of talent. But I think the Giants were so close to a win last week that we have to see how they bounce back here, because there's two paths that they could go. They could go back to looking how they did versus the Vikings in week 1, which was not doing anything, no confidence, no rushing attack, everyone just no defense, everyone looks bad. Or we go to the other route where, say, we can try and, play our best and actually get into the end zone like we did versus the Commanders, Commanders obviously don't have a good defense. When you go and play AFC North teams, they're known for defense, and we're going to see a great defensive end this week in Myles Garrett, who is one of the top premier defensive ends in the league. So the tackles, Illuminor and Andrew Thomas, are going to have their work cut out here. So that's our first big matchup that we'll have to look into. But I think Danny Dimes did a good job last week. I think from a game plan perspective, in terms of either stepping up to the pocket or getting rid of the ball quickly if, it wasn't there or not. So I think another key for this game is just going back to the well that was successful with Malik Nabers in week 2, throwing a lot of passes to him downfield, allowing him to run giving him some time up front, which allowed him and some of the other wide receivers to get a little bit further downfield. Again, we looked in the reaction video from the week 2 game versus the Commanders, and it was funny looking back on the box score because only like 3 Giants receivers were on there. It was like Slayton, Wandell, Nabers, and then Singletary, I think, had a catch for 0 yards. But they might here's the conundrum that they're in, right? Can they run well enough with Danny Dimes, who doesn't slide and is going to take some big hits, and Singletary, or do they want to figure out more creative ways to get guys involved in this passing offense? Maybe some more end around reverses to Wandell Robinson, maybe a screen to Slayton, or taking a shot deep to Slayton. I still think the Giants haven't really stuck with their game plan or what they promised us fans that they are going to take shots deep. They never really did much of that. And then you're still like, what was the point of drafting Jalen Hyatt if he they don't know how to use him? But that's why we don't get paid the big bucks here. Although the Browns got thrashed by the Cowboys in week 1, they did bounce back in week 2 with a win over the Jaguars. A win's a win in this league any way that you can get it. Not a lot of I was expecting a little bit more firepower. Watson right now through 2 games has 1 touchdown, passing touchdown, 2 interceptions. He does also have 1 on the rushing as well. And then you're looking at running backs here between Jerome Ford, Deontay Foreman, and Pierre Strong Jr. So I do think the Giants do have a strong possibility defensively if they keep growing and building under this new Shane Bowen defense to have a potential to play one of its best performances yet. Vikings game, they were all over the place, missing people, guys walking in for touchdowns, running around naked all over the place, no pass rush. Last week, you saw them play. I can't say that they played a little bit better, or more so that when the Commanders got down into the red zone for their play calling, they couldn't figure out ways to punch it in and score. They did have 6 or 7 field goals that ultimately won the game, which is still just kind of makes me feel like a little insane that happened. But it did. And now Shane Bowen's defense in week 3 has a phenomenal case to try and, put that stamp on it to say, like, hey, we're not a pushover defense. We have guys that are here that can make plays. Tyler Nubin looks good. Drew Phillips, not bad either. So those guys are grading hard right now to start the season. The main really point of concern, again, like looking, if I were the Browns, I would try to mimic a lot of what the Commanders were able to do successfully from a running attack standpoint. You do have a quarterback in Deshaun Watson who can use his legs, not as built offense around it as the Commanders did with Jaden Daniels. So, but they do have 3 running backs in that rotation that seem that one guy could go off, and that was one missing thing. Obviously, in an offseason, you can't fix everything, but you have the Giants wide receivers that needed to be addressed after they did nothing last year. Saquon left, so you needed to find a playmaker. You also, priority A was figuring out the offensive line. Priority B was the secondary cornerbacks. And then priority C seems to be like it was, either tight end, which they brought in Theo Johnson. And then the flip side of things was the interior defensive line. You do have Dexter Lawrence, who's premier, arguably top 3, maybe top D tackle in the league right now. But the drop off after him is so significant that it's a hole. It's a gaping hole. And I was hoping, I said this in my video last week, that I was hoping that hole would be not as noticeable because of a guy like Bobby Okereke or Micah McFadden. They are so good at playing the run that it seems like, I don't know, it just is like a weird fluky thing that they can't figure out. Other teams are exploiting and running, at will again so far this year. Will the Browns be able to do that? We'll have to see on Sunday. But you know what? The Giants having a kicker this week. I'm taking the Giants this week. I'm going to give a final score of, let's make it funky, 25-24. Giants kick a field goal to beat the Browns and move to 1-2 instead of 0-3. I don't know about you guys. Do you guys feel like me? Like, I feel like already, though, we're 2 games into the season about to play the Browns, who are kind of a lifeless team as well. They invested all of those trades and money into Deshaun Watson, which could arguably go down as one of the worst trades of all time. But I feel like the season already for the Giants feels a little bit fluked and wonky just with the way the first 2 games went. So I wonder if it's like just going to spiral out of control or how they're actually going to look this week. I don't think, say if the Giants worst case scenario goes as bad as possible, I still think the Panthers will somehow be worse. They've already benched Bryce Young after using the first overall pick on him in last year's draft, and they're going to Andy Dalton. So it is kind of insane just how you look at the ineptitude of certain teams around this league. And I kind of feel bad for Bryce Young. Like, they got rid of McCaffrey too. There's no options on that team. It's like you draft the guy 1 overall, and then his options are Chuba Hubbard and Adam Thielen. Like, what are the expectations there? Like, why even make that pick? Like, I mean, I guess they traded all those picks with the Bears to get up there and do that. But you need other playmakers around. It's like almost the exact opposite a little bit of the Texans, right? Where the Texans took CJ Stroud at 2 overall. Then they were able to say, okay, he played well enough as a rookie. Let's go out there. Let's get Stephon Diggs. Let's also, we have 2 young stud wide receivers potentially in Tank Dell and Nico Collins. We brought in Schultz from the Cowboys a couple years ago at tight end, running back too. So it's just a better way to go out building for a team. And then once your quarterback is eventually up to that level, say like for Patrick Mahomes, for example, then you're leaning on him making the big bucks to make everyone else around him better. It's not... And when you're leaning on a guy on a rookie contract to do that and you're not paying people elsewhere, like, I don't know. The whole situation for the Panthers just seems like a complete disaster. I know I got off the rails there talking about the Panthers, but I just wanted to use it as kind of an example of, like, you have to build a good team, even if you don't like your current situation at quarterback. Another great example of that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They drafted, I think Jameis was at 1 or 2 in that draft, Mariota. They built a good team. They have Mike Evans, Godwin, great defense. And then who's ever a quarterback there can't figure it out. Tom Brady comes in. They win a Super Bowl the next year. So it's the power of building a good team and having coaching too, for sure. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Brian Daboll. Like, I feel like he's calling the plays now, so there's no one to blame when he has terrible plays. You can't just say it's Mike Kafka or, it's funny looking back to another quick tangent. Like, for many, many years, Giants fans would hate on Kelvin Gilbride, his kill drive. And so, like, I don't know. I think people would have yearned to have him back over the last decades somehow, not to complain, but it was just like, I don't know, sometimes his plays work compared to what we've seen over the last 10ish years now. But anyway, if you guys have made it this far, thank you for watching. Again, I'm taking the Giants in this one. What I say, 25-24, a little wonky score, but I think they get it done and get in the win column to start this season. Let me know what you guys think, and yeah, enjoy the games this weekend. Should be a nice, lovely weekend.